Hello, dear friends. It is Dr. Sarah, and today we're going to discuss a very important topic, the quality of essential oils. It is one of the most common questions that I receive from newcomers to essential oils. They want to know how to find quality essential oils, and it seems like an innocent enough question. But for those who have used essential oils for a long period of time, this inquiry can be somewhat charged and even complex. In fact, the quality question has gotten a little bit competitive, and sometimes it can be even tribal. As a result, many of my clients and even practitioners have told me that they've been turned off to the power of using essential oils. They report that enthusiasts were too fervent and this turned them off. These particular people were pressing on practitioners or their friends that they had to use their specific brands in order to get specific results, or it wasn't worth using essential oils. And for most people, this makes them concerned and confused. And I think this is too bad because I believe that everybody that loves essential oils or that is an aromatherapy should all be playing on the same team, not be fighting each other. If we all join together, we can become a powerful united force of healing and have advocacy for higher standards, better accessibility, environmental sustainability, safety, and education of essential oils. So, for this reason, I wanted to start a series on this controversial quest for the quality of essential oils and their regulations and their standards and how that differs from the definition of quality and purity. And this is because all of these factors impact this perception of aromatherapy, the safe use of essential oils, and the effectiveness of oils as a medicinal tool. So, if you are intrigued, if you are a newcomer to essential oils or a longtime aromatherapist, if you have a license in clinical aromatherapy or you're a practitioner, I would love for all of you to join me on this series. And I really would like to have an inclusive discussion about this topic from people from all angles and make it very civil so that we can all learn from each other. That being said, the topics that are going to be discussed in this first video are factors related to how people choose their brand of essential oils, why I have preferences for certain essential oil brands that I use, but still remain brand neutral when I am reporting on the science of essential oils, and what essential oils are actually used in research studies. Having this knowledge is going to set you up to understand more about the standards and regulation of essential oils and how it impacts quality and purity of your beloved aromatic allies. In part three is when we'll actually discuss what I look for in quality essential oils and how I vet the ones I choose based on different tests and other processes. As always, all of the links to the specific studies, the references, and the resources will be included in the accompanying video post and at the end of the post in the resource section. So let's get started. First of all, why do people feel so strongly about their essential oil brand? And I don't believe that this is necessarily related just to essential oils. People have their preferences for other areas too, with just as much enthusiasm. If we think about sport teams, if we think about other maybe favorite supplement companies, many people have a loyalty for various reasons. When I looked at different marketing reasons why people might have different preferences, and just based on my own experience and surveys, these are some of the factors that determine why someone has chosen the particular company or brand that they have decided to follow. These factors include one's experiences, their own research into the topic, or maybe their lack of research into the topic, experts' opinions, different marketing methods, social acceptance and building a community around a particular brand, resonance with a company's mission, their specific values, and how that relates to their values, one's own values, whether they value if something's natural, if it's holistic, if it's healthy, or maybe if you're talking about a particular food, the taste, the quality, biases, whether they're known or unknown about a particular company or brand or a particular product, a company's reputation and trust in that company, the cost of the actual product, customer service, availability of the product, accessibility of the product, and there's even more I'm sure that you can think of. So, admittingly, if you think about it yourself, I'm sure that many of these things have made you particularly loyal to a specific brand or essential oil company. And admittedly, they have made me particularly loyal to certain essential oil companies and brands, and why I choose to use them with my clients and my loved ones and myself. I have other considerations I also look into as a naturopathic and functional medicine practitioner. And these are considerations I think in general integrative practitioners would have when using any particular modality or natural intervention with their clients or patients. And the first reason are consistent results. So the main oils that I use in my clinic is related to the fact that I have trust in the oils. I've used them for over 20 years. I started out as the guinea pig, and then my family and friends are. We've gotten consistent results, and I just know what to expect. And you want that in a clinical practice. You want to know that what you're actually using is going to get the result that you want based on experience. Safety. I have used these particular companies for, again, 20 plus years, and I've built confidence that I really haven't had any safety issues with them. Now, granted, I'm a naturopathic doctor and I am teaching people the clinical use of how to use them, particularly for their specific condition, how to apply them, what the dosage is, if there's any medication concerns, all of that. So, of course, I might have a skewed population, but that is why I choose to use the essential oils that I use. Manufacturing process is another reason. So we got consistent results, the safe use of them, and manufacturing processes. So I have either inquired or visited several of the farms of the companies that I use to make sure that they are living up to what I feel is important, which are how are they processing their raw materials? How are their farms? Do they use pesticides? What's their manufacturing process is? How are they distilling essential oils? Are they keeping the essential oil constituents intact and in place? What's their testing and quality control like? These are all things that I feel confident with in the companies that I use. And then quality control, which is also part of the manufacturing process. I've done my best to ensure that the companies that I use have a good form of quality control so that the essential oils are pure. And I know that I'm getting what I want to get with an essential oil from these companies. So those are additional factors I think comes into play when we're working into a clinical situation. Consistent results, safety, manufacturing processes, and quality. If I have my biases and I really believe strongly in these companies, why am I not advocating that for specific companies when I educate about essential oils? Well, we touched upon it a little bit in the beginning, right? I feel that we all should be on the same page for aromatherapy, that if we're united and if we leave out kind of these brand loyalties and biases, we can really focus on the science and what the application and uses of for essential oils, because this is honestly part of my mission. My mission is to educate and empower others on the innate wisdom and healing potential of the body and also the mind-body benefits of essential oils. I believe they are one of the most sacred and natural tools that unites the mind and the body in one of the most holistic and the most simplest, and they can be the most accessible. So I don't want things to distract from that. I'm happy to guide people on a one-on-one basis about what essential oils I think are best for me based on my experience. But I want everybody to have that information because I respect biochemical individuality, meaning everybody has their own biochemistry and maybe different oils will work differently in one person's body than in another based on the chemical constituents in their particular body chemistry. There's also their own experience and their preferences that will impact how those essential oils work. If you believe in the power of the essential oil and you have that belief, you're going to produce a whole different biochemical cascade from just that thought process, right? You know how stress, just a thought of something stressful, can impact our biochemistry. Well, so can a positive expectation. It's called the placebo effect. So I try to work with that. I know that is imperative for an intervention to work for someone in my clinical practice is 50% of the way there is a placebo effect. I am not going to take away from that 50%. I'm not a great gambler and I want to play my odds correctly. So if someone believes in an intervention and it's working, and I see clinical results, I want that person to use what is working. You're working as a clinician versus maybe when you aren't, you really have to keep an open mind if you really want to see what works and you care about getting results for your clients. And that's why a lot of practitioners have many different brands because they know the particular way that certain manufacturers actually use specific constituents and herbs and products in their formulations and what might work best and what particular combination is best for their particular client, especially if they're practicing integrative medicine, which is personalized and not a one size fits all. So it keeps you humble and keeps me learning. And I did, with that being said, I want to offer you two resources that are non-branded that I offer. One is my website, my main website, and the second is my essential oil DIY recipe group, which there'll be a link for in the video description. And on there, I do an education post every day. I do a DIY post every day, and it's brand neutral. Everybody comes in from all different companies, and there's no politics. Nobody is bashing any other brand. It's just a safe place to learn about essential oils, which I love. And I love the people in my group, and you're all welcome to join us. Anybody can learn about the essential oils I discuss as long as that it's a good quality essential oil that they feel confident in and they're diligent about obtaining that and they know the proper applications. Then, and they also understand that links to different studies aren't necessarily about their particular brand of an essential oil. So this is brings us back to the quality question. Why is quality so important? Before we go there, though, I want to talk a little bit about the science of essential oils because when you're doing clinical studies and doing well-designed research studies, quality control has to be upheld because if you get inconsistent results, based on an unreliable intervention based on the quality, you don't know if that intervention is going to be effective. So that's why you have one specific intervention that's standardized, and then you test it against a placebo to see if that intervention made an effect. Otherwise, you won't know what makes a difference. So in research studies, you have to ensure proper standards and purity. So it would stand to reason that if we could find a common brand or common constituents in the scientific literature, we would have an idea what a quality essential oil is. Sounds simple, right? Well, I've been pouring through essential oil research for 20 plus years, looking at their methods. I'm not claiming to be a scientist. I am more of a clinician, but I have written reviews of essential oil articles based on my clinical experience and do look at the studies a lot. I'm an essential oil research geek to figure out what's best based on the science, clinical experience, and traditional knowledge. And what I have found in the actual research is that the majority of findings are brand neutral. There isn't one brand across different studies, and that they're more based on actual standards of certain percentages of constituents found in the essential oils. In fact, some of the researchers actually distill the essential oils themselves to get those specific percentage. They aren't even looking at things like quality of the manufacturing process or the raw material. They just want those standard isolated compounds within the essential oil. So that being said, there are some studies that are related to a particular brand. Most of them are funded by the actual company. So that introduces a bias. Some of them aren't, which is even better. And they will state that conflicts of interest in the actual research article so you can see if there's a bias or not. So now that we understand all of this, right? We understand kind of that there's this division in aromatherapy, and that when we divide, we can't fully focus on the science and how to join together to be a voice to enhance sustainability and some of the things that we all share in common because we're too busy focusing on what company should be used. We understand that that's a problem. We've looked at why people have preferences for what they do, so maybe we can have more tolerance into different people needing different kinds of interventions or different companies. We understand now maybe why clinicians choose the specific brands that they're using. I told you mine, and I think that many integrative practitioners would agree that's why they choose their brands. And then we've also looked at the science really doesn't show us one particular company that's favored in the scientific research. It's all kind of based more on the scientific biochemical properties of the actually active constituents found within the essential oil and the synergy itself. So I hope that that was helpful because now that you understand those factors, we can dive more into quality, standards, regulations, how they're different, purity, and what some of the actual tests are for quality control in other videos. I wanted to kind of break this in chunks because I believe that it needs to be understood in chunks, or else it can get very confusing and complex all up front. So thank you so much for joining me. Again, I would love to hear your feedback. I would like to hear from advanced clinical aromatherapists if there's anything I'm missing. I've learned so much from doing interviews on the Essential Oil Revolution podcast from some of the great pioneers of clinical aromatherapists, and I always love when they chime in and educate me and us. I also love hearing from you that you have your own experience, which is as important about how you use essential oils. So I'm sending you many blessings. Be sure to subscribe to my channel so that you will not miss part 2 and part 3, and you will also not miss some exclusive posts that I send to my subscribers or some video shorts, and also announcements for any upcoming programs that the people that subscribe to my channel will be the first to hear about and have the first opportunity to join in for any discounts or promotions. I thank you again.